So the GMTK 2020 Game Jam was 2 weekends ago, and I actually competed in this Game Jam with my good friend Nolan.
Hello!
So we competed in this Game Jam together as a team, and we've got a ton of really interesting stories, so we've both put together interviews to show you guys. And hey, we are going to be competing in more Game Jams in the future, so make sure to hit that subscribe button, and Nolan's ready to get into it. Let's just roll the intro.
How did the Game Jam begin?
The Game Jam began at Nolan's place. In fact, we completed the entire Game Jam at Nolan's place. I wanted to work separately and talk over Discord, but he basically kidnapped me and locked the door, and I had no option but to stay there. He really wanted me there.
I actually did not want Sam to stay. He barged into the apartment, slapped himself onto the desk in my room, and said, "This is where I'm staying, and you can't do anything about it." And that's where he stayed for the next 48 hours.
After the theme was announced, it was out of control. We spent about an hour coming up with ideas.
So we actually had quite a few ideas. One of them was you play as an air traffic controller and there's out of control planes and you have to flip switches and press buttons in order to right the plane and get it back in control.
Maybe a firefighter simulator where you put out fires around the neighborhood.
Maybe a babysitter simulator where you have out of control kids and you have to get them back in control.
Eventually, I came up with the idea of having a robot escape in a lab and you have to fight as soldiers and get it under control.
Wait, Sam says it was his idea.
We wanted to start by making a minimum viable product, so I started working on the robot design.
Then I started working on the player controls. I wanted a system where when a player dies, you take control of another army person. And when that person dies, you take control of another one. On and on until your army is depleted.
So I wanted the robot to cycle around the battlefield and choose randomly between 4 different attacks. We had an attack where the robot would extend its arms and shoot a rapid fire barrage of bullets, one where it would lift its arms up and lob a bunch of energy balls at the players. We had an attack where it would fly up to the ceiling and ground pound, and my personal favorite, a revolving saw blade attack.
After a little while, we had our minimum viable product. Sam made the robot, I made the players, I made these pistol guys, these machine gun guys, and rocket guys, and Sam made this monstrosity.
Well, I made pretty much the best, coolest robot ever, and Nolan, I'm not sure what he was doing with those player guys, but whatever, it's not my department.
After that, I started working on designing the soldiers and making the battlefield area, and Sam continued working on refining the robot attacks. It was around 2 o'clock in the morning when we decided to call it a day. I asked Sam to go home, and he said, nope, and slept on the couch.
I don't actually remember going to sleep that night, and I slept really heavily, and I actually think Nolan might have slipped me something.
That night, I didn't sleep too much. I was just thinking about the game and excited to be making it.
Is that what he said? No, he had nightmares. He was up all night having nightmares about spending all day on one brick wall asset for the game.
I had some concerns about the art process, so I woke up at around 6:30 on Saturday morning and made that brick wall in like 5 minutes, and then I decided to also make the robot. I designed the robot in the morning.
Unlike Nolan, I got up at a reasonable time of the day and made breakfast for both of us.
No, you didn't.
I actually did.
No, I made myself an egg bagel.
I'm pretty sure I made that.
I wanted the robot to look as cool as possible, but still simple enough that I could draw him. So I made all of his arms, legs, body, and head out of squares, and I wanted them to be connected with electricity effects. I drew it out on paper first, and then put it in Photoshop. And when I showed Sam, he was speechless. He thought it looked amazing, and I thought it looked amazing, and I was amazing, and he thought I was amazing, and that's how it went.
Well, when I first saw the robot, I thought it looked pretty terrible, but I didn't say anything to Nolan. I just went ahead and started developing a set of attacks to fit the new art style.
I spent that morning working on a system for spawning in new soldiers when the soldiers die to fill in all the empty platforms around the scene.
By far, my favorite attack that I made was the revolving saw attack. Man, that thing was epic.
Yeah, but did he mention how he actually really ruined that saw blade effect by making the sound awful? It sounds awful. You've heard it, right? It's terrible. I spent the rest of the day working on a really cool intro cinematic for the game as well as the music for the game. It was around 11 p.m. and I decided I kind of want to wrap it up, call it a day, go to bed.
Early on, Nolan wanted to be reasonable and finish on time.
But Sam wouldn't let me. He said, no, we have to keep working. We have to keep working all day long.
But he ended up making me work all night long.
It has to be all day. We have to go all through the night. We have to finish the game and make it awesome.
Seriously, the man would not let me have a rest.
And so that's, I guess, what we ended up doing. Around 3 a.m. was when everything decided to be terrible. I was working on the game over screen, which should be a really simple thing, but it was being really confusing because the way the game counted your army didn't account for the people you already had on screen, so game over screens would show up when there were still players on the screen. Or sometimes all the players would be gone, but there'd be no game over. And it took me so long to figure this out, and it was so frustrating, and it was the worst part of the game jam, and it was terrible.
Yeah, we really stopped thinking straight around 3 a.m. Systems that would normally be easy started taking us a super long time, and we could not figure out why.
We ended up going to sleep at around 5:30. The sun was starting to come up, and we decided we would finish polishing out the bugs on Sunday. We did end up getting the game over screen and the you win screen at the end working, but in the process we actually ended up breaking some stuff, like the awesome red flashing effect that was happening when we were shooting, and we took out the electricity effect at one point, and it was basically a mad scramble all of Sunday. It was great.
Nolan broke everything.
We were getting really close to the deadline, and even though the game had a lot of bugs in it, we had to build it and post it, and even though it had all the bugs in it, Sam took it like a champ.
Nolan was really upset that we had to post a game that wasn't perfect, but I didn't really care because I'm a big wee head. Nolan, did you change the cue cards?
All in all, I'd say it was a really good experience. Sam and I learned a lot about being a team together, and I'm really glad he was a part of the team. I'm really proud of him for all the ways that he solved problems and gave suggestions and made the game better. Without him, I definitely wouldn't have finished a game this awesome. He was super integral to the team, and honestly, I really don't know what I would have done without him.
Yeah, it was definitely a good experience.
Anything you want to say about me, buddy?
No.
Wait, Sam says it was his idea? My voice cracked. What did you do to work on the robot? What did you do to work on the robot? So Sam started working on the robot, and I got his coffee for him.
An attack where a saw would come out. And my personal favorite, I can't speak. We had an attack. I can't do this.
After a little while, we had our minimum viable product with the robot and players. I made pistol guys, that wasn't good. After that, I started working on the battlefield area and designing the soldier.
Stupid.
I slept very nicely.
Very nicely, so I think I was drugged. He had nightmares. What this?
Nightmares.
I actually competed in this game jam with my friend Nolan.
Hey!
So we competed in this game so you're the worst. The man would not let me have a rest.
You think I'm a man?
No, I think you're a child.
No!
How much longer do you want me to do this?
That's fine, that's good.
Cut this part out, Nolan. while I think of what I'm gonna say next. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video thus far. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and you enjoyed seeing Nolan, because he's gonna be on the channel quite a bit more in the future. If you did enjoy today's video, we are all registered and set to go for Bracky's Game Jam next week, and we will actually be recording footage during that one. So if you want to see that, go ahead and smash the subscribe button down below, and it would make my day if you could leave a like as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Don't laugh at me.